Live from Radio Row in preparation for Super Bowl 59, Front Office Sports, bringing you some of the insights from some of your favorite executives and players. And we're really excited to get some really good insight today, Dan, with the EVP of Media Distribution at the NFL, Hans Schroeder. Hans, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And what a successful season that you guys had here for the NFL, obviously, with new changes to the schedule and everything, streaming partners. How would you sort of sum up this last year with new changes, Netflix added to the equation, all of this for the NFL?
Look, it's continued innovation and continued growth. You know, we look back at the year, we're 2 years into these recent deal and extensions we did back in 21. One of the things that people maybe don't focus as much on is one of the big changes on those deals was that every game became a free agent. Mm-hmm. So we go into a scheduling process every year. All 272 games can go into any window on any partner. That flexibility has been tremendous. And you think about now, we're playing more games. We're playing more Thursdays. We're playing more games early. We're playing more games on Christmas. Like, we wouldn't be able to do that and then drive the viewership and get the ratings that we're seeing without that type of flexibility. So flies a little bit under the radar, but, a tremendous year again. You start Amazon up, NBC up, CBS, winning 425 again. Fox, just down a tick, but having another great year. ESPN was a little bit off, given they didn't simulcast all their games, and then Netflix on Christmas. Like, how exciting, the first global ever sports deal. So,
point, Hans, not to cut you off, but there has been some criticism in terms of the flex scheduling, in terms of who's getting the priority of these. Some of the networks maybe are complaining that.
That's a great point. Let me jump in on this, because
exactly
you're excited. I do. But take what we did in flexing a Thursday night game. That was a Denver at Chargers game that, if we left it on Sunday afternoon, was probably going to go to 10 to 15% of the country at most. That game had already been established. Even 4 weeks out, they were in the playoff hunt. They're going to be fighting for a playoff spot. They're a big division rival, right? And we had the opportunity at the time with the Cincinnati-Cleveland that seemed great back in May, but wasn't quite the game we thought it would be when we got towards the end of the season. So fans win.
So it's all about maximum.
And look, but look, in a way that we're always going to be sensitive to the competitive aspects. So in this case, both teams were comfortable with it. They're willing to make a short week change, which was really interesting about that week was because Cincinnati was playing Cleveland, but the next week playing Denver. So who was getting the team off the short week and long week? Who was getting the extra rest? It was going to be Cincinnati. It then flipped to Denver having more rest going into Cincinnati, who they were playing to stay alive in the playoff race. So we're looking at that. We're looking at fans, the impact of fans. And look, we always know anytime we change a game, there's going to be some fan impact. And we take that very seriously. If you looked at the history of Flex up in the last couple of years, we flexed like 1.5 games a year. It's not a lot. That's drifted a little bit up, but we're really sensitive. I think we always will be. It's why we have different rules for Thursday night and Monday night than even Sunday night. So, look, that's another tool in our toolkit. The scheduling team led by Mike North on my team, and that's an area that I've been really excited to get more involved with the past couple of years. They're great, but nobody's crystal ball is perfect in May, right? Good and bad. You have teams that maybe sort of go a different way, and you have teams that play their way into prime, and Flex is a great tool for that.
Hans, last September at our Tuned In Media Summit, we had Mark Lazarus, the chairman of NBC, and I asked him about, the increase in the NFL and big leagues giving games to streamers. I mean, we had Netflix coming up. It hadn't happened yet. We've got NFL games on Amazon. And he said, well, we still think we have a built-in advantage over these internet companies because we have the power of broadcast. And I'm not so sure that in the next decade or so that advantage is going to be as obvious as it once was. So I guess what I'm getting at is, can we see a day where a significant major package beyond just, say, Amazon Thursday nights is given to a streamer, where an international package of all of our games abroad is given to an Apple TV that wants to get in, or to a Netflix, where you would give close to a whole season or an even larger chunk to a streaming-only platform, because I feel like these internet companies are going to become some of the highest bidders.
Look, our strategy from day one has always been about reach, right? And we've been incredibly fortunate with broadcast television to be able to get reach, but also have a platform that over time developed multiple revenue streams. You have both advertising and subscription, right? As we look out, I think there is a question, is streaming going to get there? Are they going to be able to, first and foremost, technically be able to deliver an NFL-size audience? When we streamed parts of a game with Dallas and Green Bay back in 2008, one of the CDN companies was calling us saying we had 400,000 concurrents. We're about to break their internet, right? So how do you scale for 25, 30? We've solved some of that challenges, and not only with great partners, but the whole entire sort of delivery ecosystem has done that. You look at where we are now. And Mark's great because Mark plays on both sides of the fence, right? They're great, incredible partners with NBC with some of the best games. They also got Green Bay Philly on Peacock to start the year this year. They got Miami KC in the wild card last year. So
Peacock US only.
Yeah, okay. But, and then what we're looking at, so where you get to is, look at this year with Netflix, 25 million between the two games. I think last year with 3 games on Christmas, we averaged 28.5. So a little bit different, but we're getting there, right? That gap is closing. And you look at how you look around with your friends, your kids, and otherwise, people are going to continue to spend more time on these digital platforms, but they're still spending time on broadcast television, at least for us too, right? And when we looked at last year, I'm still looking at all the numbers. You know, last year in the 2023 season, every demo was up for us at all ages, right? And that's where not only being on these new platforms for the reach and the screens and the places they are, but it's younger fans. It's 8 years on average younger on Amazon and Peacock than it is on broadcast. So that's important to us. It's not just the size of the fan, it's who those fans are. So we're already there with the full package. You know, from our perspective, we want more people. If you boil it down, we want more partners and companies excited and partnered with the NFL, helping build us. Partners help build the NFL. We have great partners to do that, but we're always going to be sensitive about not being spread too thin either. So it's worked for us with the number of partners we've had in the past.
Hans, I want to talk about the viewing experience, especially when it comes to the advancements of technology, next-gen stats, all of that. I mean, if you watch an Amazon broadcast, I feel like I'm watching a Madden football game. And the incorporation of that is just enhancing the experience. Are there more things that you guys are working on in terms of that viewing experience, utilizing technology that's going to be coming down the road? Are there any sort of insights you can give us into that?
Absolutely. I mean, you hit a great one with Amazon. I mean, our partners are tremendous and probably do more behind the scenes than anybody ever sees to innovate their broadcast coverage every year. We have a number of meetings throughout the off season about where and how we can get better. One easy example, which wasn't technology, but the on-field player interviews right before kickoff this year was a great way to get Jamar Chase or Joe Burrow right before they're kicking off to give their point of view. But Amazon, and I think a lot of fans would say, what was the last big in-game innovation? Might be the 1st and 10 line.
That's true.
So you start looking at what they're doing in that predictive blitzing and the stuff they did on Prime Vision, which was a secondary experience, that now they're using bits of that in the main Thursday night football experience, right? So you start to see that intersection. There's always going to be a judgment of when and how much. And like our idea is the deeper experiences keep for somebody that wants to seek that out. But these are platforms to start inventing or innovating and making the core experience better too, which is amazing.
Hans, I know you do the schedule, and we're talking about the TV side of things, but got to ask you about the 18th game, and Goodell has been talking about expanding the season. In some ways, the NFL has such an advantage because of the scarcity, because it's this finite number of games. I mean, in contrast to NBA, Major League Baseball, the ratings really wildly fluctuate, and we say maybe the season is just too long, and the NFL has a real advantage there. Talk about what you might kind of gain and what you might give up by adding yet another game.
Look, I think there's still, as Roger said, I think as Lloyd said, like there's a lot in front to really think about what that could look like and a lot of work that would need to go in to really drill down on how it would come to life. What I sort of look more at is look how great 17-3 have been, because some of these same questions were asked, right? And I think from a fan perspective, and particularly a broad or global fan perspective, playing that 17th game is allowing us to play games more internationally, to cater to our UK, our German, our Brazil fan. We're able to get rivalries every other year with AFC teams playing NFC teams you would have had to wait once every 4 years to see. And those rivalries are standings based. So it's whoever won the division is playing whoever won the other division. Chances are they're two pretty good teams coming back and playing each other. Those rivalries are fun, right? And they're all another reason that helps us get to populate the entire schedule and get good games in all windows. So I think 17-3 has been great. I think our fans have loved it. I think we're always going to be sensitive and look at all the considerations with anything that would ever happen. What we'd have to look into to go to 18-2. But certainly if you look backwards and use that as any indicator of what might forwards look like, it's been a big success. And I think our fans have loved it.
Hans, let's talk about altcasts here for a moment, because just yesterday, Dan and I were talking to Brian Rolap, who said, look, we want to go to wherever the viewers are. A lot of people are not watching traditional broadcasts. It could be as simple as The Simpsons, Toy Story, all those other ones, or what the Mannings are doing. But is that sort of the area that you're going to continue to expand when you do these deals? Are there going to be alt casts attached to that because you're trying to widen the aperture of new people that are going to be watching this content?
Yes, I think you'll see us do a lot more of that. What that looks like, and I think there'll be a range of things. You know, the ManningCast add about 10% audience lift to any game they do for ESPN. That's meaningful, right? There's a different way people want to watch and enjoy the games. That's a little bit different, but it has a purpose. You're seeing the Mannings, you're seeing the guests. The game's there, but it's in the backdrop, right? That's our big learning is anything we do, because the core broadcast is so good, anything we're going to do on top of that has to have a purpose, and then has to be done very well. And I think we've done that. We did that with the Toy Story game. We did that with the Simpsons game, the EA broadcast. Those are a wide range of outcomes. Like some are getting 1 million viewers, some are getting less, but engaging a really active EA fan base. A lot of those people started liking football through the game, not even watching on television. So now they can watch a game like they play the game. So, you know, I think you'll see us do more and more of that. It's great ways to bring new fans in, some fans on the animated side internationally. It's available in 100 countries on Disney+. Like, again, if they're like my daughter that would watch Frozen every day for a month straight, hopefully that's not viewed as a game. It's viewed as a 3-hour movie that they can come in but also watch football while they're doing it. So, yeah.
Let's end on international expansion. Got to ask you about that. I mean, we talk about media. You know, at some point, you got 120 million people watching the Super Bowl. Are we close to a full inflection of we've gotten the viewership we're going to get in the U.S., and now we look abroad, right? You're doing more games abroad than ever before. The Jags play in London more than any other team. I don't know if they become the London Jaguars, but talk to us a little bit about what you guys think the opportunity is with turning the National Football League into the International Football League.
Look, at some point, we think, you know, as son of a coach, somebody that played, I love the game first and foremost, right? I think it's the best game in the world. So we're hopeful that we can bring that game to more people, right? And we started to do that, but there's a lot more work ahead of us to do that. I was over in the UK this year in the week between two games, and one of the things we were showing this highlight from the first game, it was a Vikings game, I think Vikings-Jets, and it was remarkable because typically at a lot of these games, you'd see a rainbow of fans. It was weird. It was different than any other NFL game because it's fans of all different teams come in, they wear their jersey. It's a rainbow, right? Well, this stadium was 80% purple. There were Vikings fans. So we have clearly developed a number of Vikings fans. You saw it for the Bears when they played a week later. You look at the UK, we have 11 UK born players in the NFL today. We have an academy over there where we're helping kids at the high school level. But they sent 20 kids to play D1 football. So that pipeline is going to grow. We now have 100,000 plus kids playing flag. So that kid gets that spark that sees that British-born receiver, quarterback, running back in 5-8 years. He's going to have a way to go play football, right? So Germany's the same way. We had a league there for many, many years. There's a reason we can sell the tickets and sell 1 million tickets in a day or whatever we do when we list a game there. There's a lot of people that like football, but we got a lot more work to do. But for us, it's how do we bring the game? How do we develop more fans to, we think, a sport that once they're exposed to it and understand it, because it's a little bit more challenging than rolling a ball out, right? Like, it's not a soccer, it's not a basketball. You got to sort of explain some of that. I lived in Australia for a couple years and, you know, would get a lot of questions, you know, about why the brakes, why do you have to wear pads? You're not that tough, all those type things. Yeah. The game's just different. But once sporting fans like it, you know, I liked cricket when I was there. So, like, I think we'll get a lot more people liking football as we do more of this.
Why, like, partnerships like with Amazon and Netflix are unique for you guys because they're international companies and anybody can be able to tap in wherever they are, but they're not able to get that on CBS and Fox.
Yeah, look, that's a benefit. I mean, look, Amazon's not global in that way. Netflix was global and sort of is distributing everywhere around the world. And it was remarkable to see what we did. First, probably major sports right in any market to do a global deal like that. Tremendous to work with, but yeah, that was the excitement. The biggest single day on their platform is Christmas. Yeah. To bring our sport to them on that day, that a release later with Squid Games, like it all just came together. And so, yeah, and we play more 9:30 games. Like that's a great time slot. 9:30 games not only get into the afternoon in Europe, they get into prime time in parts of Asia that most of our other game windows don't. So all those things come together. But again, I think we're going to do it in a smart way where it's a part of our inventory, a part of our investment, a really big and important one, but an appropriate one because we want to be fair and appropriate to all our fans back here in the States too.
Yeah, Hans, we could talk to you for hours on this, but congratulations on another exciting season. And of course, we're all just itching for the next NFL season to start.
Well, we got one more big one on Sunday, so
Yes.
Should be a good one, too.
It will be absolutely a great one. Hans Schroeder joining us here on Radio Row. And don't go anywhere. We got a lot more of your favorite interviews with athletes, executives, and insiders in the league right here with Front Office Sports.